Kirby Air Riders is here, and man is it fun. I've put tons of hours into the story mode, air ride, city trial, and that other one, and I've been having a blast. But even before the game actually came out, I've been thinking about ranking all the racetracks in air ride mode. I initially considered doing a ranking of all the tracks in the original air ride first, but then Masahiro Sakurai thought it would be funny to bring back the whole roster in Air Riders. So I'll be ranking the 9 new tracks together with the 9 returning ones to see how all of them stack up against each other. Gameplay comes first, of course, but the aesthetics, music, and fun factor also greatly play into my opinions. Also, if you're wondering if I'm going to talk about the top ride tracks, I considered it, but ended up cutting them since it would disrupt the pacing. It would feel wrong with all the old top ride tracks missing, and they're just not nearly as interesting as the air ride tracks. You know what? I'll do a ranking of every top ride track across both games if this video gets 10,000 views. So unless you viewbot or spam refresh, it's not happening. Without further ado, it's time to soar high like shooting stars in the sky. And the worst track in Kirby Air Ride / Riders is Nebula Belt. Of course it's Nebula Belt. This is the one track in this game I would actively call bad, and for good reason. This was meant to be the grand final track in the original Air Ride, despite it having the most basic theming and layout imaginable. It's literally just a few super long straightaways and a handful of easy turns. There are no boost pads, very few ramps, no side routes or shortcut opportunities. Hell, there aren't even any enemies that spawn, leaving very little opportunity to attack or catch up if you fall behind. You can only get copy abilities from these roulette panels, and it's still up in the air as to whether or not you'll get something that'll help you. Kirby Air Ride is a very mechanically unique racer, yet none of that is reflected in this lazy straight line that should have been a grand test of the player's skill. Most of the intermissions I've played in Mario Kart World were genuinely more fun, interesting, and well designed than this sorry excuse of an air ride track. Apart from its music, it has nothing going for it, and no reason to be played when there are so many far better options.
Is this just fantasy?
Fantasy Meadows was the beginner track of the OG Air Ride, and it shows. I mean, what do you want me to say? It's just an oval in a basic grassland. I really like the music. It's whimsical and welcoming. The windmill above the cave is cool. The north end's slight diversion of routes is moderately interesting. Yeah. This sure is a basic starter course, alright. Next.
Checkered flag, here I come.
This is probably gonna set a lot of you off, but I do not like Checker Nights. Yeah, it has some okay obstacles, the underwater part looks cool, and the music slaps. But aside from those, I don't know. Like, what's even the theme here? Blocks? A lake? A weird underwater galaxy, which at least looks cool? It feels so incoherent, and the layout, while not bad, isn't really that impressive either. A lot of the turns feel basic, the underwater part is way too short to leave much of an impact, and the straightaway before the finish is so long and dull. Yeah, you can be jump scared by a wall in the castle, but is that really the most interesting thing you could have ended the lap with? It feels like it was cobbled together towards the end of Air Ride's development, which I can see being the case given how rushed that game's development was. Honestly, if it weren't for its top tier music, this track would probably be forgotten. It's way more interesting than the last two, sure, but I've seen better.
Life's a bunch of flowers.
And the weakest new track from Kirby Air Riders is Floria Fields. This is Ryder's starter track, and it is so much more fun and inviting than Fantasy Meadows. It takes place in a gorgeous field of flowers of many different colors, and the music is a beautiful tone setter for this wild racer. The layout's more interesting than your typical starter track, there are good turns, a few ramps, the log and cave are cool set pieces. It's just a very solid introduction to this game in general. Yeah, it's on the simple side, as expected from a starter track, but it's still a damn good starter track. And the fact that this is Air Rider's worst new track while still making it to B tier just goes to show how strong the new tracks in this game are.
He's more machine now than man.
Machine Passage is a rather unique track, taking place in a dingy factory out in the middle of nowhere. The place feels a lot more sinister than other tracks, as if it's actively sucking the life out of the area around it. The ominous music greatly emphasizes this feeling and makes it stand out even more. There's a cool split path towards the beginning, the sunset skybox is really pretty, and there are some neat pinball-like obstacles. The main routes are a bit narrow, and some of the turns feel a bit too sharp, but I still enjoy Machine Passage, even if it is far from my favorite favorite track. Cavernous Corners is a wild ride that takes you through so many parts of a massive cave system. From a mine shaft to a temple to a treasure room full of riches, this cave is full of wonders. Every stretch feels distinct, with plenty of insane twists and turns. It's pretty fun slipping by the crystals and golems, and it's especially satisfying getting launched by the geysers and skipping a turn or two. The music conveys the adventurous feel a ton, with a nice reference to the Neo Star map theme from Kirby 64 in the baseline. Some of the turns are a little annoying, and I hate how much the unavoidable tar pit slows you down, but otherwise, I like Cavernous Corners a lot. It's a real treasure of a track.
That isn't smoke, it's steam.
Steam Gust Forge is a lot like Machine Passage, just with more of a steampunk style than a futuristic one. The factory has plenty of split routes, making it so each lap will be slightly different, and it's really fun to seek out each alternate route and speed ahead of everyone. The enemy placements are effective, the gliding sections are fun, and there are plenty of tricks and traps on your ride through. It isn't exactly the smoothest track, with a few annoying turns, plus a lower part in the last stretch that can really kill your momentum if you fall, but I still enjoy inspecting this factory from time to time.
Welcome to Sky Sands.
Sky Sands is a very solid track in a biome that doesn't have the best reputation over in Mario Kart. The scenery of this vast desert is honestly mesmerizing, with the yellow sand contrasting so well with the blue sky and background dunes. It's helped out a ton by a godlike piece of music that really captures the feel of a ride through the desert. It honestly might be my favorite piece of music in the original Air Ride, which is saying a lot. The layout is very windy yet cohesive, there's a couple of hidden side routes, I love the elevation at certain points, and the dead coral is a nice touch, hinting at this being a dried up sea. Some parts of it may feel a little too narrow or sharp, but Sky Sands is still a fun trek with amazing atmosphere.
Crystals, of course.
Crystalline Fissure is a dazzling route through an otherworldly mound of crystals. It bombards you with all sorts of colors from the starting line and continues to take you through a beautiful crystal field and a sick lava cave in the second half. There's an annoying pitfall early on, and the straightaways and automated rails are a bit too long for my liking, but the layout I feel is pretty solid otherwise. There are plenty of curves and inclines, there's a good chunk of alternate paths, and tons of ways to get ahead of and screw over other people. It's a track with such magical vibes that also happens to come with some fun gameplay on the side.
Celestial Shell, awesome accessory that provides a wide range of buffs to every stat.
Celestial Valley is such an ethereal track from the OG Air Ride, and it looks even more gorgeous remade in this game with its dim night sky and smooth lighting. Despite its uncanny nature, the track has a very strong layout that takes you across many fantastical segments. There are good bumps and turns, a rope bridge over the abyss, and a vertical split route with 3 different tunnels which all lead to this sweet river valley. Hey, just like the name of the track. It all ends with this awesome rushing water section leading into a massive jump across the valley to the finish line. A perfect finisher, and one of the track's 2 defining traits in my eyes. The other is, of course, the music, capturing the mystical feel of the valley while still being upbeat enough to keep you going through the race. Celestial Valley is easily a highlight of the original game for me, and it's still a very fun time in Air Riders.
It's raining fire.
Magma Flows is Air Ride's obligatory lava level, yet it still makes plenty of efforts to stand out. This track is such a thrill ride, taking you across a treacherous field of magma. You can feel its heat from the lighting and more than warm colors, immersing you in the inferno so well. Its layout is also fittingly chaotic, with many sharp turns, a few route splits, and plenty of ramps you can leap off for extra airtime. It's very well suited for machines with good gliding capabilities, letting you soar above the ashes and cut ahead of everyone else. And do I even need to mention the music at this point? You all know the Air Ride duology has incredible music, and this piece is no exception, even if it did steal half its notes from Gourmet Race. Some of the turns might be a little too sharp, to the point where one of them needed a safety grind rail, but otherwise, Magma Flows is fun, frantic, and dare I say it, fire. Look, I had to, okay?
The ocean stage, where Chibi Rebel pulls a Moses and parts the Red Sea.
You know, I considered writing a few special words to hype up this next track, but I'd just be paraphrasing Sakurai, so I'll let him do the talking.
キャラモノのレースの海コースって青い海、白い砂浜、ラテンが流れていたりして喉からリゾート風味になりがちですが、このカービィのエアライダーはそんなに甘くはないです。
we've reached the point where the tracks get flat out insane. Wave Flow Waters is one of the most extreme tracks in the game, making you feel like such a badass as you surf across and in between these wild waters. You're met with insane boosts and turns every step of the way, keeping you on the edge of your seat. The visuals show off the Switch 2's power so well, with flying colors, dazzling effects, and yes, amazing water. Featuring music with guitar riffs that would even give Jun Senoue a run for his money, Wave Flow Waters makes a splash as one of the game's standout tracks, one that I never tire of catching a few waves on.
It's completely frozen.
Frozen Hillside is so cool. It takes place in such a breathtaking Arctic sky, surrounded by mountains and aurora borealis. That paired with the magical music gives this track such an ethereal vibe, even more so than your typical snow level. There are multiple memorable set pieces like the cave, the ice bridge, and this grind rail that takes you super high up into the sky. It honestly feels like a dream racing across this windy, slippery trail, and it helps that its layout is very cohesive. The turns are sharp yet fluid, there are so many curves that send you sliding around, and there are also a few traps you can turn on and off with switches. Even the ice physics don't really bother me, as they honestly add even more chaos to this already brisk track. Frozen Hillside is such a fun time, and it gives me chills every time I play it. Yes, the ice puns were entirely intended. Galactic Nova is the grand final new track of this game, and it does far more to earn that title than Nebula Belt could ever dream of. It starts out rather straightforward, with a Mad Dash 2 Nova containing a few boosts and ramps. However, everything amps up considerably when you enter Nova itself. Suddenly, you're transported into an alien factory with tons of turns, traps, and split routes. The interior looks so sleek and otherworldly, setting it apart from every other track in the game, fitting for such a cosmic entity. The track gets more surreal as you progress, culminating in the sickest ending, where you smash through Nova's heart and fly off with the damn thing falling to pieces. So cool. Don't feel bad for him, he deserved it for what he did to Zora. To be honest, the only sorta issue I have with this track is the music. It starts out with a remix of Nova's theme from Superstar, as you'd expect, but when you head inside, it fades out and gets replaced with Marx's theme? Yeah, you fought Marx right after Nova and Milky Way Wishes, but why didn't you save the music that played inside Nova for the segment inside Nova? Ah well, at least the remixes themselves are pretty good. Also, what planet is Bro attacking? That is not Popstar. In spite of some nitpicks I have with his presentation, I still think Galactic Nova is an amazing final boss track, and a solid throwback to Milky Way Wishes.
Palutena has gone off the deep end and destroyed Skyworld in the process.
Airtopia Ruins is simply majestic. It sends you on a journey all around mysterious ancient ruins with so many twisted and windy stretches. There are tons of turns and an upper route in the first half, there's a wide middle section with plenty of split routes, boosts, and glide opportunities, and some boost rings near the end, which are very satisfying to go through all at once. Taking advantage of every boost or route split to get ahead is a lot of fun, and paired with the music that sounds straight out of Kid Icarus Uprising, it's easily one of the highlights of this game's new tracks, one I never get tired of racing on.
You have escaped cyberspace.
Siberian Highway was a track that really caught my interest in the game's first direct, and now that it's out, I can safely say that it is by far one of the coolest tracks in this game. It's set in this dazzling digital cyberspace, with 3 visually distinct dimensions you race through, with each one having drastically different colors, design choices, and visual effects. The techno music enhances the digital feeling even more, sounding like it came straight out of Sonic Riders. They go all out with the sheer insanity of this track, with wild turns and obstacles, various vantage points you can glide to and from, and even this one split route where one path shrinks you down while the other scales you up. I don't know why they added this detail since it doesn't change much, but it's still really cool. I may not support the prospect of gaming going all digital, but I still find Siberian Highway to be such an awesome ride from start to finish, and an instant hit for me. And the best retro track in Kirby Air Riders is Beanstalk Park. This is an utterly dreamlike locale with such whimsical music and nothing but clouds and beanstalks everywhere you look. You're sent across such a wild, twisty layout that never stops offering insane set pieces and obstacles. There are branching paths everywhere you look, from the grind rails circling the beanstalk to the multiple layers after the Ferris wheel. The numerous turns feel incredibly fluid, keeping you on the edge of your seat throughout the ride. And the lap ends with a sick set of grind rails leading straight into boost rings and the finish line. Literally, the only thing I don't like about this track is the Ferris wheel taking away your control for a few seconds. Aside from that, Beanstalk Park is such a wonderful ride, and I find it fitting how the best track in Kirby Air Ride is the one that takes place in the air. But do you notice how I said air ride instead of air riders? Well, that's because there's a Nitro track that's somehow even better. Mount Amber Falls is peak. It is a truly breathtaking trip down a mountain with a gorgeous sunset looming over the course. I'm kind of a sucker for the fall aesthetic, and this track captures it and immerses you in it so well. With the golden trees and aforementioned sunset, it's easily the best looking track in the game for me, and it helps that its layout perfectly ties into the theme. Starting off from a snowy summit, you're sent careening down a winding mountain path with more twists and turns than the plot of a Xenoblade game. You have to memorize each turn and time your boost charges perfectly if you want to stay ahead. Towards the end, you'll be sent down a huge waterfall before cruising down to the grassy base of the mountain and finishing the route on a beautiful beach. Shogo Sakai going absolutely ham on the soundtrack makes this race through the wilderness even more of a standout than it already was. Mount Amber Falls is just a wonderful ride from top to bottom, and easily my favorite track in the Kirby Air Ride duology. It's such an enchanting trip through nature while containing the same brisk, frantic action that makes this game so unique. But it's still not as good as Oval Circuit, baby! Well, that was my ranking of every air ride track in Kirby Air Riders. This may be subject to change since the game hasn't even been out for a month as of recording this, but I'm still surprised by how strong the game's track selection is. There are only 3 I don't really like, all of which are returning tracks from the original game. The rest are all so fun, distinct, and well designed, on top of them being paired with the unique, offbeat mechanics that make this game such a blast. And to think, the races aren't even the main appeal of this racing game. Kirby Air Riders is amazing, and I seriously hope more Switch 2 owners give it a shot, whether they're fans of Kirby or not.